So this week I'm going to show you what I do for making monkey biscuits. So I make monkey biscuits like every 3 to 3.5 months, and I usually put a different variety of beans and things in, but there's some things that is always staple. So I always put in some of this mix of seeds, usually a whole bunch of different nuts. This time we just bought this, which was easier to do. So it's an unsalted mix and it's got a bunch of different kinds in it. I always do coconut oil to add some moisture and to help things stick together better, and coconut oil is pretty good for them. On the beans, there's a few of them that I always add, but then there's some of them that I mix and match. So this time we're doing dark red kidney beans. I always do peas. We're doing navy beans. I always do green beans. I always do these chickpeas. They love these chickpeas, so I add a lot of the chickpeas. I add like 2 cans per batch, and I have to make 2 batches. I always add black beans. More chickpeas. I always add pumpkin, just plain like unsweetened pumpkin mix, and I always add corn. This time we're going to be adding dried cranberries, and then I won't use all of these, but I'll make up a batch of pinto beans as well, and I'll cook those up fresh. All right, so this area is a little bit of a mess right now as I'm cleaning the kitchen to get ready for this. So since the COVID stuff has happened, I haven't been able to get the chicken gizzards and the chicken livers and all that stuff. And usually when I buy these chickens, you know, sometimes there's guts inside there and sometimes there's not. Most of the time there's not. I don't know why. But for 2 batches of monkey biscuits, I'll do 1 thing of beef liver for each one. I don't particularly care for the beef liver, but I need some sort of organ meat, and this is the only organ meat that I can find right now. And that's the only kind that I've been able to find since like March. And then I'll do 4 whole chickens, and what I do with those is I boil all of this with a lot of different seasonings, things like that. And so that's what I'll do with that. Okay, so then the other thing that I always add is sweet potatoes, and I do quite a few of them. I'll just cook them kind of all the way because they'll finish up once they go into the oven with the rest of the stuff, but I want them soft enough where I can mix them around. And then the other thing I do is I boil a bunch of eggs, and those will go in whole. I'll just blend them up, and they'll have the shells and everything on them. And then I'll do raw eggs to kind of help stick things together and add moisture, depending on how much moisture I need. And then those won't have the shells on it. So then here in the pot, I've got 2 of the chickens and the liver. Right now they're still frozen, but I'm going to cook them really slow. And I'll add a whole bunch of garlic. My garlic is all clumpy, so we're just gonna, but I add quite a bit of garlic anyway, just for flavor. I don't add any salt, because they don't need any extra salt added to it. I'll add quite a bit of pepper. They do like seasoning. And I'll add a little bit of sage. Now when I do the next batch, or when I go to blend it with everything else that's in it, what I will do at that point is add some other seasonings to it. So it's, so they have some other seasonings. I'll add some other stuff, but I'll do that in the mix when I add all of the beans and all that stuff to it. And then this is what I use to stick them in. I have 3 of these, and there's the small little muffin tins, and that's what I stick everything in, and then I cook it. So once all this stuff gets done and we get to the next part, I'll be back. Okay, so I have added all the beans, all the nuts, and all the canned stuff that I had, the oil. I'm gonna add the chicken, and then after I add all the chicken, I will add all the fresh vegetables. So the chicken I will just take and pull it all off the bone and then blend it all up so it's small, and then that's how I'll add it. All right, so I have added all of the chicken in here. I've already started adding some of the other stuff, but I'll add like half of the thing of blueberries, spinach, half a thing of this one will go in this one. They'll get a zucchini and a squash. They'll get the bell peppers, broccoli, and the cauliflower. And then when all that's added, I will mix all this up, and then I start making the biscuits. All right, and since making monkey biscuits is ever so much fun and not boring at all, I can't remember if I introduced everybody to the new cat, but after Grumpy died, a friend of ours had some kittens, and we ended up getting this guy. He is a Russian blue Bengal mix. His name is Church. And we've already got him neutered, and he's already had his shots. So we have him. And then a couple weeks, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago or so, we got this new little girl. This is Athena. She's Cocker Spaniel. And if I could get her to hold still long enough, she's got one brown eye and one blue eye. So this is our new little girl, Athena. She's AKC Cocker Spaniel. Looks kind of like Vivian. Looks a lot like Vivian. And she's a good girl. And then since we're bored making monkey biscuits, nothing else to do, we'll say hi to the monkeys. There's Mojo. There's Caesar. And down there on the bottom is Jasper. And I did get my plastic, or my right here, which is doing a fantastic job keeping bedding in. Still have to get a piece for the door. They didn't have anybody that could cut it, so I just had to put it up the way it is. So, but anyway, a little something interesting instead of just monkey biscuits for this week. There's Athena. 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 Okay, so now everything is in here. And now the only way to stir this is with my hands. So, and this is a big pot. See, big pot. So I stir the whole thing with my hands. And then once I do that, then I will be ready to start putting the biscuits into the thing. But I have to figure out if I need to add, sometimes I add dog food. If it's too wet, I'll add dog food, and I'll bring dog food, really a high quality, high protein dog food up. If it's too dry, I'll add raw egg to it. So we'll see what I need to do once I mix it up. Okay, so this batch is way too moist. See, it's not really, it's still too moist. So I'm gonna add the dog food to it. Like I said, it's a really high quality, high protein dog food that I ground up pretty fine. Some of it's still whole in there. And I like to add this instead of oatmeal. Some people add oatmeal to their monkey biscuits, but I prefer adding the dog food. because it gives them added protein, and it's got, instead of just plant-based. So that's what I do with it. So now I'm going to mix this up and see if I need to add any more dog food to it. It'll depend on how. I'll probably still have to add a couple more batches of dog food. All right, so it is mixed up pretty good. So the way you can tell is if I pick it up, see how it just kind of clumps and stays pretty clumpy in that spot. So that means that this is pretty much as moist as it needs to be. Now down really way down there, it's probably more moist. So as I get down to the bottom of the pan, I'll probably end up adding some more dog food to it. But for right now, this top is dry enough. Because what I'm gonna do is I've got my oven set at 450. It's actually set for like 475, but because the way my oven is, it auto converts, so it does 450, and then I probably bake it for like 30 minutes. And so I have this little these little small pans, and I want it all to be pretty level at the top. And I sprayed the pan with spray. And I just pat it all in there. And when it's all full, I put it in the oven. And that's how I do monkey biscuits. And I'll do two big batches like this, full of it. And that gives me enough monkey biscuits to last about 3.5 months. So it's 4 whole chickens, whatever organ meat I can find. I usually like to add a lot more organ meat than what I did add, but I have not been able to find organ meat, like I said earlier. Then I add a bunch of different beans to it. I add a bunch of different vegetables to it. The pumpkin, lots of green stuff. So you can add the monkeys like to eat the greens raw without cooking it. Problem is Jasper gets really bad diarrhea when he eats it like that. So when I cook it like this, and so instead of making monkey biscuits, you could just give it to him all fresh and just do a variety of fresh foods. But Jasper gets diarrhea. And when Jasper gets diarrhea, he gets a super bad diaper rash. So I found that if I do it this way, he doesn't get the diaper rash. He doesn't get the diarrhea, and he doesn't get the diaper rash. So this is how I do it. They still do get some fresh stuff once in a while. I just don't give them vegetables fresh, because that is what tends to give him the diarrhea, is the vegetables fresh. So when I do it this way, he doesn't get it. They do lose some of their nutrients out of it by cooking it, but I mean, there's some people that just feed straight dried processed monkey biscuits and don't do anything fresh, and their monkeys are perfectly healthy. And according to the vet, my boys are healthy, and their sugar levels are great, and their nutrition levels are great. So I don't have fat monkeys. And a lot of times when you have a monkey that is neutered, they end up getting fat and putting on a lot of weight. I don't have any problems with that with my boys. So I know that you lose some nutritional value by cooking the food, but you don't lose a ton of nutritional value by cooking it. So it's still good for them. And when they have their diapers on, I don't have to worry about diarrhea and things like that. So I'll come back here in just a little bit and show you what the finished product looks like. All right, so the first batch is done. I've got them out. This one was on the bottom. It's the first time I've used the 3 racks, and this one was on the bottom. So what I'll probably do is with this one, when I put the one on the bottom next time, I probably won't put it on for the full 30 minutes. I'll probably put it on for 20 minutes instead and see if how that does, because these look perfect. And these are a little bit brown, but the monkeys won't care. The monkeys like it. So usually I can get them to come out. This is feeling a little bit soft still. These are feeling a little bit soft still, so actually I'm gonna have to put these in for a little bit longer than that first batch. Yeah, same with these. Some of these are okay, and some of these are a little bit. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this batch back in for about another 5 minutes. And I'll try 5 minutes on this batch and see how that does. You want them, so you see on these, how they hold together really well when I take them out. That's how you want them to do. So some of these are holding together pretty well, but they feel a little bit smushy still. And you don't want them to completely crumble apart. Like this one's pretty good. They're gonna crumble some, but you don't want them to crumble that much. So I'm gonna put those back in, and then what I do is I will take them out, put them all in a bowl, let them cool down a little bit more, and then after they cool down a little bit more, I bag them all up in 3 days worth of food per bag. So they get 45 per bag, and that lasts them for 3 days. All right, so this is the finished product. This is what 3.5 months worth of food for the monkeys looks like in the freezer. Takes up almost this entire top shelf. I've got one in the refrigerator in the house that they're eating on, but there are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 bags all together. So that's their food, and it took me 2.5 days to make it all. So anyway, that's the monkey biscuits.